Hey everyone, welcome to Area 616. So, Thor Ragnarok, the final Marvel movie of 2017, is officially out, and Saturday I got to see it. I'd never really been a huge fan of the Thor movies. The first one was alright, I guess. There's nothing wrong with it, it was just a pretty slow movie. The second one, however, is probably my least favorite MCU movie of all time. It was just not good at all. The villain was basically everything you shouldn't do with the villain. The visuals were bland, and the story was bland, and just nothing about it was any good at all. It's funny because there's a scene in this movie that's a parody of The Dark World, and it's just perfect. So, you can probably guess, I pretty much loved Thor Ragnarok. It was great. Going into this, I definitely expected it to be fun, but it completely surpassed those expectations. I'd heard a lot that it was basically the movie equivalent of cotton candy. It's fun, but weightless and has no real substance. And I think that's true here. It's not nearly as bad as people made it sound. There's definitely drama and stakes in the movie, but it's certainly not the focus of the movie. But honestly, it never bothered me. I felt like it had exactly the right amount of dramatic scenes. This kind of tone was really what this franchise was needing. I just hate that we're getting this in the third Thor film, where there's a very real chance we'll never get another one. Hela was a brilliant villain, definitely one of the MCU's best to date. It's so clear that Cate Blanchett is just having so much fun playing her here, and I think that's really just infectious. It makes you have fun watching her. She's just as menacing as I was hoping she'd be, and they did some pretty interesting stuff with her that I'll get into in the spoilers discussion. I'd known for a while that Chris Hemsworth was a bit of a comedian, but he is truly great in the movie. He has great timing, and somehow I felt like they managed to not make Thor feel completely out of character. It is certainly true that he's gone from being a mostly serious kind of somber guy in Age of Ultron to Tony Stark levels of humor in Ragnarok, but they made it work somehow. All of the new characters in this movie are standouts. I really hope we get to see more of them. Korg is just brilliant. He pretty much stole every scene he was in. Valkyrie is amazing. She was just really awesome. And she also managed to be a really different type of female hero in the MCU. She's tough and smart and all that, but she's also an alcoholic with some real character flaws. It was just kind of refreshing. Loki is really just as great as he always is, and there are some really neat teases to his future in the MCU. Scourge was surprisingly fun, just because you don't hear much about him in the reviews, and he's certainly not the biggest character in the movie or anything, but he's still a lot of fun. Grandmaster was amazingly weird. Jeff Goldblum was absolutely perfect for this role, and of course the Hulk was awesome as always. I've got to say, the Hulk CGI in this movie is outstanding. It's always been great, of course, but this is the first Marvel movie where I've ever actively noticed how great it is. Pretty much everyone is great in this movie. Doctor Strange isn't in it much, but he's really good in the scene he's in, and I just love the fact that they put him in there. In the grand scheme of things, he probably could have been pretty easily cut out, but I love the fact that he's in it for just about 5 minutes, just to help Thor out for a bit. It's that kind of stuff that makes the MCU feel connected. If we could get that kind of thing going on the TV side of things, and then in between TV and movies, it'd be perfect. Some fans might be disappointed by what they did with Surtur. I'd love to know. Going into it, you're sort of expecting something else from him, which you kind of get, sorta, but not in the way you think. But I thought what they did with Surtur was pretty cool, personally. Overall, this was probably one of the funniest Marvel movies, and there's so much to love about it, really. The characters are great, the humor's great, the villain is great, and the action is fantastic. This was so much better than I thought it was going to be, and I was expecting it to be good. So yeah, I've got to say, Thor Ragnarok is definitely one of my favorite Marvel movies now. And hey, now that all of this year's Marvel movies are out, how did they stack up? For me, I think Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 was pretty good, but it definitely had some flaws that I think puts it in the rear for this year. Going between Ragnarok and Spider-Man Homecoming, it's really tough, but I think that, for me personally at least, Homecoming was probably the best MCU film of this year. That's really just personal preference for me. But Ragnarok was probably the funniest movie this year for me. But the criticisms about it lacking weight are not completely unfounded, which is why I'd put it in second place. But it's still a great time at the movies. But what did you guys think of Thor Ragnarok? How would you rank 2017's MCU films? Keep it spoiler free here. I'm putting up a spoilers vid right after this, so be sure to check that out. Let me know all your thoughts and theories in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Drive our ship